So in today's video, we're going to take a look at 12-bar minor blues playing. We're going to analyze everything, so you're going to be able to understand what's going on in the solo that I just played. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the first half. If you're interested in the second half, as well as downloading the tab PDF and the backing track that I used to play over this, you can go and follow the link in the description. Alright, so the chords are a minor blues. This is the chord progression that's being played. B minor 7, 3, 4, B minor 7, B minor 7, 3, 4, B minor 7, 4, E minor 7, 3, 4, E minor 7, F sharp 7 alt, B minor 7, 3, 4, B minor 7, 3, 4, G7, 2, 3, 4, F sharp 7 alt, 3, 4, B minor 7, 3, 4, B minor 7, F sharp 7 alt, and then back to B minor 7. Alright, so the scale that's mostly used in the first half of the solo is the B minor pentatonic scale. So most of you are probably familiar with the position 1 minor pentatonic pattern, which looks like this. Now what I'm using is that first pattern, position 1, but then I'm also using a section of position 2. So when I combine them both, you get this type of pattern. So I like to think of that as one complete pattern, almost like an extended minor pentatonic pattern. And the reason that I like to see it that way is because when I'm using this position and I'm hearing notes higher than this position, I don't have to move up and down the string. I can just come over this way, and I get better access to, if I want to hit maybe that note as well too, I'm able to play that note more conveniently. That's why I like to think of that bigger pattern, so part of position 1 and then kind of a part of position 2. Alright, let's talk about the very first note, which is a slide from the 9th fret to the 11th fret on the 3rd string. Now, why did I choose that note? Let's think about scale degrees for a moment. Scale degrees, if you're not familiar with, it's a relationship to the root note of the chord. So the chord that's being played at this time is B minor 7. B is your root. If we look at all of the B's in this pattern, we see here, here, and here, and then here as well too. So if we were to think about the scale degrees in this pattern, we have 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. Now those scale degrees also repeat for the rest of the notes. So you have 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4. Now, why is it good to know this? As you get more experience, you realize that each of these different scale degrees have almost like a different flavor or a different emotion, if you want to think about it that way. So what I played there to open up the solo is I slid from the 4 to the 5. And for me, that creates almost the feeling like something is starting. Right, so if I were to slide into the root or something like that, from the flat 7 to the root, there doesn't feel to be any forward motion if you start with a note like that. For me, anyways. That's why I prefer to start the solo like that. Moving up the next phrase. So we have, like you can see in the tab that I have displayed above. So now this phrase, so as you can see, I started on the note, I started on what is the 4th degree, and then I slid to this. Whoa, what is this? So this is what guitar players refer to as blue notes. So blue notes are what create kind of almost a bluesy atmosphere. Guitar players think of them as blue notes, but in the regular theory world, you can think of this as a sharp 4 or a flat 5. Now you can use those degrees in the other parts of the scale too. So let's just quickly cover all of those sharp 4s or flat 5s, or blue notes, whichever way you want to think about it. So that's the one that we played there. You have another one here, and you have another one here. So they're really useful if you want to slide in to them and then out of them. So this type of, like I did in that phrase, kind of creates that almost bluesy atmosphere, doesn't it? And then I hang on the root, or the 1, and then I play the flat 3 and give it a slight little bend. Now you can probably hear that I'm holding some of these notes, kind of creating space. That's kind of what creates that soulful feel, just leaving some space in your soul, letting things breathe, right? So creating anticipation. You know, what is he going to play next? As opposed to just playing a constant stream of notes. If you do that, you're not creating interest, you're not creating a mystery, right? So, very similar to the last phrase where I hang on the root for just a little bit, except that I'm hanging on the root here. And then, so playing the blue note here now, right? And then moving around the scale like that. This next phrase, a little bit similar to the phrase from before. Again, sliding in and out of that blue note, or the flat 5 sharp 4. This time I'm staying on the 4, right? And then, whoa, what was that? What's that note? So, of course, if we take a look at the minor pentatonic scale, that note isn't there. What's that doing there? So if we look at the chord that's happening at that specific time, that is the F sharp 7 chord that's happening. That note is part of the F sharp 7 chord. So I'm actually pivoting and connecting more directly to the F sharp 7 chord tones here. It kind of sounds a little bit, it kind of gives it an interesting flavor specific to that chord, as opposed to if I were to just play. Which sounds okay, but just at that time, it kind of creates a cool moment in the solo, doesn't it? So this phrase, barring the 7th fret strings 1, 2, 3, but then I have my 3rd finger on here, using that blue note again, but this time with my pinky. So. And then after that, climbing up the scale. The place that this phrase is taking place in is at the end of the form. So if you add a phrase like this, going into the beginning of the form again, it creates a lot of forward motion in the solo. And that would be the downbeat of the first chord in the next rotation in the form. So the listener is a little bit more interested in what's going to happen next. I find if you do something more simplistic in terms of rhythm, that also creates a lot of forward momentum as well. So the rhythm there, you can even just use just straight quarter notes. Right? So it's like, so the listener's like, oh my gosh, something is happening. Right? So I find that's another way to create some forward momentum in a solo as well too. All right, I'll stop it here for part one. In part two, we're going to look at, of course, the next half of the solo, which uses, things like the B natural minor scale. It uses 2 different altered scales as well too, and some chromaticism stuff as well too. I'll be covering that in part two. If you want to go and check that out, as well as download the PDF, download the backing track so you can play along, without my playing, and perhaps even see about soloing, creating some of your own solos, and seeing what things you can come up with. You can go down and follow the link over to part two and have access to all of that. Anyways, I'll see you in part two.